Hello, so viewers, here we are in the amazing home of Adam Saaks, and my gosh, we're so excited because Adam is the master cutter, but using a slightly different pair of scissors than you do. Adam, thank you so much for having the SO team here today.
My pleasure, you guys. My pleasure. I'm honored to have you here.
We have so many questions for you. I almost don't know where to start. Adam, you have been all around the world so many times. You make your living out of custom cutting garments on people live. Tell our viewers about that.
You kind of said it perfectly.
Here's your elevator speech.
It's great. I'm going to use that one. So I travel around the world. I cut live in front of huge audiences, and I do custom stuff for all kinds of things, like, videos, movies, premieres, flipping weddings, whatever they want. Lately I've been really focusing on bodysuits and bathing suits. It's basically like a really tight T-shirt. Yep. That's like form fitted, so that's perfect for me. Yep. And so I just been doing those for the past few months, and it's been really, really fun.
So when you you cut one of those body suits, is that something that someone can wear next time?
So
it just fits them perfectly?
Yeah. They're built. They get a little bit more stronger actually after I'm done working with them.
Yep.
There's a lot of reinforced twists and knots. The knots are a little bit fragile, and they're kind of the weak spots. But if I do a good knot, then it's all fine, and it'll last forever. And the care is simple. You just put it in the washer in like cold water, and put it in the dryer on low heat, just like your jeans or your colors. Yeah. So you need to shrink it back down a little bit, especially when I'm working with just T-shirts, because they tend to stretch out after one wear, and if you lay dry it, it's ruined. So you wash it, take care of it, just dry it.
Adam, I love the story of how you got started, and I know that our viewers will really resonate with that. Would you like to tell us how that happened?
Sure. Well, it started 13 years ago, but 10 years before that, so 23 years ago, I started wardrobe styling, and I fell in love with that. And when I fall in love with something, I know I'm supposed to do it, and I did that for a good 10 years. Big jobs, little jobs. Traveled with it. I mean, I did every type of styling you can imagine. And 10 years into it, it just kind of got redundant. I kind of did everything. I was full circle on every type of job. I was like, I've already been here before. I'm not challenged. So I fell out of love with it. And I quit. And I wasn't doing anything. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And I bumped into a friend of mine, and he said, hey, well, if you're not doing anything, you're creative as the person I know, why don't you come and design some shirts for our company? Never felt like being a designer. I know what it takes. It's very hard work to do production, sampling, all that. Production is not fun. So I was like, well, it looks like they have that taken care of. Why not? I'll do it. What the heck? So I came in, brought them some slashed up T-shirts because the 80s were coming back. It was about 2001. And we took it to a trade show in Magic, those designs. And there was we were giving away promotional shirts to all the girls walking by. And they were just solid T-shirts with the logo. But one girl was like, this is a cool shirt, thank you very much, but would you mind cutting it like the one hanging up right there? So I was like, yeah, no problem. So I grabbed her shirt, I folded it, started slicing into it, and I felt the area get a little bit muffled around me. I looked up, and there was a crowd of people watching me, like it amazed me, and I'm like, well, this is interesting. So I put it on her. I tied it up because I dismantled the sides. I tied it up so it form fitted her, and they applauded. And I hadn't even started cutting yet, and I was a little nervous, but I got into the zone. I got her into the zone, and I just said, it's just me and you. Let's just breathe. I capped this neck. I scooped the neck, I capped the sleeve, I cropped it and slashed it, and the crowd went nuts. And I was like, all I did was just get into more of like I was moving, and even though I'm sitting still, I spread my legs, I leaned forward and started cutting, like the wind's in my hair, I had it figured out. Like the first slice of that shirt, I knew what to do, and I fell in love with it. And I looked over to my friend and said, this is it. This is what I want to do for a living. Nothing else. And I got a tap on the shoulder as all these thoughts are going in my head at this, like instantly. And I look and I turn, and it was a girl and her friend. She said, will you cut me and my friend one? And the line started. And for 4 days, I did 189 shirts.
Wow.
The people that worked at this convention place in Las Vegas, these like union guys, grabbed the scissors out of my hand. It's like, it's 5:30, get out of here. We all want to go home. They literally had to take the scissors away from me every day. I was cutting for 8 hours a day straight, and I loved it. I was like a machine. Yeah.
And you're saying you've done it, you've jumped out of a plane and done it.
Yes, I set a world record, and I asked Guinness to be there, and they didn't think it was cool enough. But I was like, I thought I didn't give them a very good description because everything's online now. I thought I'd be able to call somebody and go, yeah, come on down and meet me at this place, bring your clipboard and your like stopwatch and whatnot. Like,
Whatever you do.
exactly. But they didn't really think it was that big of a deal. And I know for a fact nobody else has done it. I've checked and whatever. So I say I set a world record, my own world record. And what I did was I cut a model in the plane as we were reaching altitude, and then I jumped out tandem with someone on my back, and she jumped out alone. 1 mile from us, hits us like a bullseye, grabs our arms, gets into my sweet spot. She's right there. I twist it up, tie it off, we pull the cords, and then we land together and meet again on the ground, and we're like, yeah.
So going back, you decided to do this for a living.
Yes.
You were determined that's what you were going to do, despite everyone thinking you'd absolutely flip your lid. Yeah. What was your first step? What did you do then? How did you get yourself out there?
Okay, it's good. This is all in the book, but I'll tell you because it's a great story. When I was in San Francisco at the time, about a week later, September 11th happened when I got back from this trade show. And San Francisco was like done. It had already been done because the .com had crashed. And that was a big reason why I kind of got sick of doing my work as a stylist because it's kind of like dead anyways. So it was a good time to like rethink things. Anyways, I became the designer. I did the cut-up shirt, went to Vegas, came back. A week later, the world comes to a screeching halt. So my friends had moved down here about 5 months earlier, and to Los Angeles, where we're at now. And they said, "Why don't you come move down here? You're a great stylist. You can pick up your business back down here." I'm like, "Well, okay." So I needed to make money, and I know that shirt cutting wasn't really like making money yet. It was only been a week and a half since I started doing it. So I went down there, I had 5 beautiful portfolios, and I called the agencies, and they said, yeah, we're not taking anybody on at least until the beginning of next year, because nobody knows what's going on the planet right now. So I had gotten this business card from Vegas, and it said, Mike Cassell, Von Dutch, owner. So I called him. He said, "Hey, if you're ever in LA, come look us up. We'd love to see if you could do something with our jeans." Because he was watching me, and he was going and getting girls at the trade show, bringing them 2 eyes on his arm, like every 10 minutes. He was like kind of fishing, and I'd bring them in. And so we got to know each other pretty well during that week in Las Vegas. And so I called him, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're down here. We've been waiting for you. Come on down to the store. When can you be here?" And I said, "An hour." So I went over there. He said, these are thousands of pairs of jeans that we haven't been able to sell. Take a couple pair home, mess around with them, bring them back tomorrow. So I did. I brought them home. I messed them up and just like aged them and put grommets in there and chains and all kinds of cool stuff. And I reworked them and I brought them back, and they loved them. They put them on the design cutting table and had the buyers there, the head designer, the reps, And they started discussing about putting these jeans back into production. And I was like, what am I doing to myself? This is not what I want to do. So I said, Mike, come here for a second. I pulled him aside. I said, Mike, I don't want to do the jeans. I just want to cut shirts. And he just said, you want to cut shirts? That's amazing. Perfect. Okay, guys, back to your stations or whatever. Meeting's over. He takes me downstairs. There was they have this doors downstairs beneath the offices on Melrose Avenue. And there was this huge wall of shirts, like 100 different graphics on each shirt. He said, this is what you cut. You can give us X amount of money. You charge whatever you want. We'll even make you a cutting station in the entrance of the store. And so I set up shop and I sat there and I was making like, I don't know, $20 a week for like 6 months, $20 a week. But I was cutting about 100 shirts a week. I was like, come on in. And I started like building this clientele. And I made Von Dutch quite successful because of that business that I had there. And the girls that I was cutting kept coming back for shirts, and then they'd say, oh, there's jeans here too. And I'm like, I don't know, just go in the store. I just sit up front here. I don't want to, about this. And so they were going in, the stuff wasn't fitting them correctly. And so the owners, Mike and his partner, brought me upstairs and said, because of you single-handedly created a market we never had. We want to give you some percentage of this business, and we're going to invest some money and get a jean designer and rework the jeans. And then the Von Dutch started to become the Von Dutch that everybody knows today. And so I was cutting on the sidewalk basically in the rain during winter. I didn't $20 a week. Didn't know anyone in LA except the people I lived with, and started to meet people, I was stopping them on the street, and I started to get smart. I was like, this is a cool design I did. Let me take a photo of that. So I'd take a photo, and I'd take it to the store and get the prints made, because we didn't have, like, cameras on our phone back then. And I was sitting there cutting out the designs and making these collages, and I put it on a board and mounted it, and I drilled a hole outside the building, and I put a hook on it. And I had these two, on both sides of the store, I had these two collages of all these designs that I did. And it was a showstopper. People were walking down the street and they'd congregate around these things. And I was like, I'd go in and go, which one do you like? Oh, cool. Let me hook you up, And so I built a business out of that. Emails were just starting. So I started like collecting emails. And at the time I got around 10,000. I did around 10,000 shirts pretty quickly.
Wow.
Yeah, in a few years. And then it just took off. Then then videos started happening. And then I got it like internationally recognized, and then I started getting booked all over the world, and I've been around the world over 40 times, like circles around the world.
So you're using technology too, aren't you? Latest technology?
A lot of technology. Yeah, a lot of technology now.
Do you love that?
I do, because it's back in the days when we had portfolios 15 years ago, I'd live in live workspaces, and what I'd do to like put my portfolio together, I had to like wait for the tear sheets to come out in the magazine. I had to go get the prints from the printer, at the portfolio size, have them retouch it with paint on the negative. I mean, it was a whole process. And then to put the book together, you had to pull everything out of the book and lay it out. Cover shot, right, left, in pairs all the way down the hallway. And so I'd walk by them and walk over here and move these two way over here. And then I'd walk with my book and slide it in and go to the next one and slide it in. And that was how I'd put together my portfolio. But now, like with Instagram, for instance, I'm like slide, click, crop, twist, filter, post, done. And even get to say something on top of it. So I love it. So for me, people are like, you post a lot of photos. I'm like, yeah, but it's like I didn't get to do this. I did legwork when I was younger, and that was a business of mine. Also, was my portfolio. That was my moneymaker. A lot went into that, but now it's like you can just
so much easier.
Yeah,
and even more effective.
Yeah, so you can really do some. Yeah, it's really functional and fun for someone like me who's a visual person and likes photographs and likes to project certain feels and. Yeah, so
you've got, film there on YouTube that just has millions and millions and millions.
Yeah, I've got about 60 million views on YouTube now.
Oh, wow. It's just unreal. What is the one that has the highest?
The one that has the highest got taken down for some
Really?
reason after a while. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It had 26 million views.
Mm-hmm.
It was me in Tunisia on a television show cutting the host. Like,
So what's the ultimate for you? What is the ultimate for you now and what you do?
the ultimate. Well, right now, I'm focusing on my show. I've got all this content I've filmed of me around the world in different scenarios, in different countries, doing different designs on different types of people. And I filmed all of that. And now I'm back home and I'm in the editing bay, putting it all together and creating a season of a show. It's a weekly show now. So that's what I'm focusing now. But my favorite thing to do out of this whole thing, and being in the moment is one thing. Right now it's about editing. I love editing. I love putting it together and pulling out the best to just keep your eye on the design that I'm doing, the process and the outcome of it, and cut off all the fat and all the things that you don't need to see. Mm-hmm. Just the best of the best to get the point across of what I do, and then put it in the best light that you can see it in. But my favorite thing to do, which has always been, is cutting live in front of the larger the audience, the better, because I love to bring the message to you. It's better to cut one shirt in front of 10,000 people instead of one shirt 10,000 times in front of one person, you know. So
what is the biggest audience you've done today?
50 million live viewers. Wow. Live viewers, 4 countries aired live.
What you said is not like that.
No. The audience was more like this because it's a Muslim television show.
Yeah, really?
Kind of. Wow. It's called Bayaz, and it's filmed in Istanbul.
Yeah.
And they're low. Wow. It's he's kind of like Jay Leno, like a talk show. And they're like, can't cut the front. I'm like, all right, so I'll do a back piece. And the director had me cut it twice just to make sure. They were very, very nervous.
Yeah.
And the first time in the audience, there was a lot of albayas and burqas, and the 500 live audience, which is nothing to me. But when I scream out, do you want to see more? And guys say no. I'm like, oh, I am on the wrong stage.
Adam, I would just love you to share one thing to all our viewers out there who have their passion, have their craft, they've discovered what it is, or maybe not. What advice would you have for them?
Okay. The best advice that I could share with you is to just stick with it. And if you're doing it for all the right reasons, that just keep your eye on the prize, why you love to do it, how it makes you feel, the act of what you're doing that creates that feeling inside of you. Stick to that, and everything else will fall into place. Even though they'll look like there'll be some loss and some difficulties, but if you keep your eye on that feeling and that activity that creates that feeling inside, that's your success. It's mine, from my experience.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, we are honoured to be here today. Thank you so much. We are so lucky to have caught you because you're actually at home for a few days while we were here. So we kind of think that was meant to be.
Yeah, well, thank you guys very much for coming. It's my home. You're welcome here anytime. I love So Magazine. And so shall I just say my little thing on the way out here?
Yeah.
All right. And cut.